Hey guys, welcome to the Lucky Draw Podcast. You guys here, you got Sean over here, Tiger over there, and then Troy down there on the bottom. All right, we're bringing your guys' week podcast to you. This theme this week is snacks and packs. What I mean by that is I got packs to open and we got snacks to try. So during the show here, I'm going to be trying some snacks, talk about them. Every 2 minutes, we're going to crack a pack. I have packs, Tiger has packs. Troy has a couple packs. I didn't get a chance to get into Troy. He's all the way out in Pennsylvania, so it's a little bit harder for me to get him some packs to open. But just coming back from Vancouver, it's what I like to do with my packs. Usually I open a box, so why not share it with everybody? But yeah, that was basically my week. It was Vancouver, pretty fun. Got to do a lot of cool stuff on the floor. But yeah, playing wise, I didn't do much. But Tiger here, we just left the challenge, had a pretty interesting finals match. You want to talk about your week so far, Tiger?
So the week started off with Vancouver. I wasn't there, so I didn't get to keep fighting for points at this point in time. And Vancouver bumped me out of the top 125. I am now in the 140 section. I have 537 points. But today we had a challenge in the middle of the week. I did end up winning the challenge, so I got my last 3 points from locals there, which puts me at 540, which now should put me somewhere back into the low 140s, high 130s. I played Goldango Dragapult. My list is on Twitter and will be on Burbank on Facebook. Links to that will be in the description. I played Badoo for Mirror, and that was about the biggest tech difference that you would see from my list and another one is that having Badoo and Monkey Dory in the Dragapult version. I hit round 1 was Frostlass Badoo, round 2 was Raging Bolt, and round 3 was Saraledge, but they played like Saraledge walls with Mimikyu and the flip Pheasantipity that if you flip heads, you don't actually hurt it. So it was a lot to think through and know that I couldn't use Goldango to just swing really hard because Saraledge was just sitting in the background. But it was a quick little easy 3-round challenge. Like I said, I got the last 3 points out of it, putting me back higher in the contention. Getting ready for Atlanta, playing the post-rotation decks. But other than that, nothing crazy this week.
Yeah, for us, mostly right now we're taking a little bit of a break from the girls with competitive. So Charlotte and Ella, we're doing a lot of testing with post rotation, really trying to focus on that side of it. We do have a couple of cups and challenges here in the last, week to 2 weeks, but we're actually focusing on the boys, letting Jameson and Miles go at it and, picking themselves up some points. The girls are pretty much maxed. Ella needs one more cup and she's maxed. So we're, kind of working through some of that stuff and just mostly letting the boys go at it and try to gain some points for themselves without having to battle their, much more experienced older sisters. But, mainly for Charlotte and Ella has been just really focusing on some of our planning and our gameplay moving in and, why are we making these decisions? What are we focusing on and how can we be better throughout the game? So, just nice to kind of take that little bit of a break and watch the boys win a little bit.
That's awesome. So yeah, one thing about that, Troy, I wanted to say before you got too far, taking a break to the game is sometimes needed. A lot of pressure can be put on these players. I see it day in, day out. Every time we go to a regional, you see the burnout. It's real. So if you do need a break from the game, make sure you do take one.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, you see it, whether it's kids or adults or, when we find ourselves that we're having those reactions to each other and we're like, holy crap, I'm taking this way too seriously. That's probably that time where you need to take a little bit of a break and get your head back on you, because ultimately we play this for fun. Not many in the community are making a living off this. So, for those of us who aren't making a living at this, have some fun with it.
Always.
Wait,
the game
you guys are having fun?
Nice.
Now, Sean, what about you in Vancouver? I heard you had a pretty interesting call.
So Vancouver this week was kind of cool for me. I got to assistant head judge Masters Division, which has been a goal of mine all season. After last year getting my feet on the floor, pretty much every regional. So far this year, I've been at every North American regional there has been in some capacity, whether it was floor judge for seniors, juniors, or masters. So this time I got to be a master's assistant head judge, which brings its own different responsibilities. Biggest hurdle for me was learning to be less of a floor judge and more of a manager, so to say, to free up my time to be able to do the things that I need to do and have my floor judges do the things they need to do. But one thing those floor judges did bring me, and I shared it with these two guys, and they thought it was funny, was an interesting call. I had two separate floor judges come up to me and report it, and they didn't talk to each other before it, and at separate rounds. So one player was playing totally fine with his cards upside down. So what I mean by that is all of his cards, his deck, his prizes, his hand, discard was all down. So top of the name of the card, HP, all facing him. Why this was, we're not exactly sure. There's two reasons I can think of. Was A, he lost a bet, and his friend said he had to play the regional with his cards upside down, which I got some friends, we might make some bets like that. Second, make it clear for your opponent to see your cards. And I mean, I can't argue with that. But like I said, after they both came to me at separate times, the biggest problem was the active Pokemon did have to be in the right state, because that could confuse the state board if he's turned a certain way. That could mean a status condition, and as us judges or other players, that could be confusing. So that was the only thing we had to change. As far as I know, player continued to play like that. The board was neat. Everything was readable. So as the rule book states, and as many judges will force on the floor, as long as you have a clean board state that is readable by your player and by the judges, you're totally fine. So it was interesting. Nothing crazy, but it was definitely a interesting call I've never heard before.
That's funny, and I'm sure that you're going to run into something like that at every event. So I do love hearing those stories, and it's definitely it's a comical one.
So before we get into the meat and potatoes here, we did talk about packs and snacks. So we're going to go ahead and crack one. After that, I'll start my 2-minute timer. And oh, there you go, Troy. And we'll every 2 minutes here, we'll crack a pack. If we get something crazy, we'll show it off. If not, we'll just continue chatting away. So go ahead and rip away, and let's see what we get. Of course, this pack wants to be a pain. All right. We ain't going to slow roll it. So. Well, I got a Togekiss. Nice.
All right, looks like I pulled the Braviary.
Nice. All right, so Braviary, big hit on the first 2 minutes, and start going. All right, so Vancouver
Code here.
was code. Yeah, that is a good point. Never thought about that. I don't care for these codes. Anybody want this code? You're gonna have it. All right. Vancouver. Biggest surprise there for me as a Dango lover is that Dango made it to the finals. There was a lot of Dango on the floor. Being down with the Masters all the way up through top four, I got a good chance to see a bunch of different builds of Dango out there. I love to see that people are using the Cheese Man to really rock it at regionals. And to see it in the final was huge. I know that was actually one final match that I stayed after being cut to watch, and it was awesome. Fortunately, it didn't go the Gold Dango players' way, but still. The other top four, we had Pulp, Dango, Roaring Moon, and Miraidon. The other stats there from day two, out of the top five, there 43 Pulps played, 31 Dangos were played, 31 Guardies were played, 28 Lugias, and 22 Cloth. So those are that's the numbers for the day two decks most successful. So what that says right there is Dango is on par with Guardy, in my opinion. What do you think about that there, Tiger?
Now, anybody who watched our last week's episode, we did talk about what we predicted for the meta. Sorry, I have a light flashing over here. Dango was not in our choices, and Guardy was not in our choices. But we did have Cloth, Lugia, and Dragapult in our top 5 for going into Vancouver. Now, seeing a Roaring Moon make it all the way to top 8, wild. I said it was a good play for EUIC. There's timestamps on that at different posts online and on our podcast. It didn't show up there, but it did show up to Vancouver, which is cool. Other than that, I think that the point structure for how it did overall, Goldango did better because of Lucas Singh. Him making it all the way to the finals gave it the point percentage to get above Guardy. Now, Goldango is a very straightforward deck. Draw cards, hit hard. That's what we're all about here with the Goldang Bros as well. We draw cards and hit hard.
Yeah.
But sometimes you can just get outplayed by Dragapult because it can take so many prizes back to back and can waste turns being a single prize board state if it really needs to set up for the big turns. One thing that Goldango kind of lacks. Troy, what do you think?
So I was going to actually just kind of input, looking at the meta and the meta share and the way that it walked out, you definitely kind of saw, of course, like you've had a lot more Miraidon lately. And of course, Miraidon being good is going to suppress Lugia a little bit. You definitely saw a lot more uptick in Lugia. Didn't quite crack the top 8, but it was all right there. But same thing, you've got those Goldingos, you've got the Archalons, those just big heavy hitters that are doing the Lord's work.
Mm-hmm.
But having a lot of variety. And even I was looking at the juniors meta, there was 7 different decks that played in juniors in the top 8. Goldingo was the only one that had 2 in there. So again, this season it seems like Gardevoir seems to be ruling the kids meta. It seems like there's always one player who's topping and then it doesn't do anything else. So I think that's the 4th regional that it's won in juniors this season. But tons of variety there in the juniors and the seniors. And I mean, honestly, it's such a diverse field. And looking back from a couple of years ago when we didn't have those diverse fields at regionals, it's really cool to watch.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right, so we have elapsed 2 pack times, so go ahead and grab 2 packs if you got them. Crack them open. Let's see what we get.
Now, to go with your thoughts there, Troy, about the Miraidon and whatnot, if people thought Miraidon was still going to be doing well, Goldango is a very favored into Miraidon.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Which, might be why we saw that little bit of uptick in Goldingo there, because again, it's been Miraidon, so why not run that counter?
Right.
Woo!
Let's go.
Let's go. That's a hit. We'll take it. Lisia's appeal.
My gas station packs are letting me down.
Oh, no. All right, second pack. Like I said, because we already went over 2 pack times, but that was a good conversation. I really didn't want to break that up. So.
Now, to kind of break the silence a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. I was going to say,
what do
it's
we
definitely.
think about Andrew Hedrick? Every finals he's made it to, he's won. There has not been a finals that man has went to through his Masters career that he has not won the finals game.
And I mean, that's just
whether it's
cold-blooded. It's right there. It's you got it in your sights, and you're just gonna convert every time.
The man has champion in his veins. I mean, that's just it right there.
Yep. And
whether it's crazy coin flips through confusion to win a match, or just starting Luminion, prizing your whole Dusk line comebacks.
Yeah, and if you guys watched, of course I know you guys did, but if any of you out there watched the finals from EUIC, it was wild because it was Donkfest by Cloth. However, watching this one with Lucas and Andrew, it was absolute awesome match to watch, and the way it played out. There's different points where you're sitting there thinking it's going to swing one way or the other, and it wasn't. And it was really, really cool to watch as far as the way that it was played. Masterful games by both people, and of course, Andrew coming out on top in one that I truly didn't think that he had a favorite matchup in.
Yeah, I mean, being witness to a lot of it on the floor, I really saw some high level play, and I think I was talking to Tiger about this after he picked me up from the bus stop after I got back in town. And I mean, seeing some of that higher level play, it was amazing. Like I said, to see games go like that to where it looks like someone is about to lose, and then literally no, they've taken 2 or 3 turns to set things up, and then all they needed was 1 or 2 pieces to pull it off, and to actually watch those things happen right in front of you, it's absolutely insane. So I mean, kudos to the champion there. He did great. I do want to commend him on his play. So definitely glad to be there and watch it, and can't wait to watch some more.
The game 3 Iono to 1 was just the icing on top of the cake, because normally that's not what happens to Goldango. They get Iono'd and they just draw back out of it.
Yeah, there was no drawback for that one, and I definitely felt that. Been there, done that. Just not as on such a big stage, I guess.
Yeah, and we were kind of discussing my younger child is
Pack time.
learning Goldingo. Yep. I'll continue. I'm out of pack, so I'll continue. So
Yeah, you
Jamie
keep talking.
learning Goldingo, and we were kind of talking about that with hey, I'm gonna Iona you to 1, but it's okay because you're gonna draw 6 cards anyway.
Speaking of the youngest, is one of the ones that I coach, and didn't they just win something for the first time?
He did. So actually, this weekend, or actually this Thursday, he went. And again, in our area, there's not a ton of juniors, so they get paired into the Masters a lot. He ended up going 3-0, won a challenge. Actually, he's won a couple of challenges this season. But
the Pikachu!
Pikachu!
It is not the Pikachu, but it is a Pikachu.
It's a Pikachu. We'll take it. We'll take
my
it.
girls would say he's a little basic, but That's actually a funny one. We were talking about we have a cup this weekend, and I was asking the girls, I'm like, hey, do you guys want to play? And Ella, she looks at me, she's like, not really. And I'm like, is that because you don't want to play? She's like, is it still the Pikachu, Matt?
Still want the Pikachu, Matt, does she? So we're going to try these Cinnamon Toast Crunch Bugles. They look good.
Nice.
The Pikachu mat's where it's at. It's for those out there collecting mats that don't play. Yep. It is a pretty pricey penny. I'm pretty sure it's sitting at around $200 for the mat itself. So those out there winning and earning their mats are able to flex $200 rollable money right there.
Yeah.
So just a little thought process, because I'm watching you eat those things, Sean.
Mm-hmm.
Could you pour milk into that?
Dude, I think this would make awesome cereal. I was just thinking the same thing.
Pour milk in.
Dude, just get a big old spoon and just eat it, like straight up. They're good, by the way.
So it kind of tastes like Cinnamon Toast Crunch?
Yeah, it tastes like Cinnamon Toast Crunch. Honestly, it tastes like I'm eating Cinnamon Toast Crunch cereal, but a lot softer. Like Bugles, so like more flakier, chip-like. Definitely good. Those ones are solid. All right,
I'm a little
so
disappointed you didn't go with the witch fingers,
I should have, right? Any other Vancouver stuffs? What did you say? Out of how much?
5, what would you give it?
4. I'm a cereal guy. So we're
gonna go
5
with
being
4?
higher, right? 5 being higher?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I give it a 4. The Dusty's got a little bit of a dust taste after it. It's not bad, but it's not as sweet because it's kind of got the potato to it. But
gotcha.
It's good.
Okay. We'll take a solid 4.
I'll take a solid 4. I'm trying to think of anything else at Vancouver. I mean, it really wasn't crazy. It was a small tournament, for those that didn't know. It was a little bit smaller. Travel is a lot harder for some players. It's pack time, by the way. Travel can be harder for some players to get across the border when you have to get a passport. That makes it a little bit harder for people to get there. Still a good tournament nonetheless. Go
So,
ahead,
Sean,
Troy.
one of the things I was going to ask you while you're cracking, Vancouver is a city. I've always heard it's a really cool city and it's really unique. What was your experience there? Again, I've never been to Vancouver, so I can't speak to that.
It
But
was
compared to like some of the other regionals and stuff like that, how do you rate?
it was my second time in Vancouver. I was lucky enough to go last year. I kind of was a last minute ad to the organizer at the time. It is a beautiful city. There's so much to see. The mountain caps outside of the convention center are just absolutely ridiculously beautiful. The buildings around, that's one of the biggest things I like when I travel, is to see the buildings. Ooh, what's that? Durant. That was
Durant.
cool. Durant. But the buildings are really funny shaped, and I kind of like that. I mean, architecture is something cool to look at, to see how these buildings are and standing. It's a very beautiful city. So much to see around there, like a lot. The poutine, the food is amazing. So fries, gravy, cheese curds. That's the base. I'm not big on cheese. I usually like pick it off or ask them not to put it on there. But they make so many different ones. So I had a chicken one, which it was like a barbecue chicken in a way. So it was like the poutine with this delicious like boneless chicken nuggets on top, and they were just amazing. And then the other one I got was a breakfast poutine, so it was basically fries, gravy, cheese, which like I said I haven't taken the cheese off, but then it had bacon, egg, all types of stuff. I put salt and pepper on. It was just like eating like a breakfast hash brown thing because essentially the fries were just fried up hash browns. It was amazing. Definitely try the food when you go.
All right. So, Troy, what card from the F block are you going to be missed the most?
That's a so F block. I feel like from a playing standpoint, it's got to be Luminion, right? Like just the card
Yeah.
that's in everything lets us get that boss whenever we need it. But I think honestly, it's probably got to be Hisuian's Aurora. Just it was one of my first competitive decks. I really enjoyed playing it. Never really did much with it, but
Pack time.
it's just the way it operates. That's probably mine.
No doubt. Hisuian Zorak will always have a soft spot in my heart as well. It was the very first deck that I ever played on stream. Shout out to Zach Lesage because he was my opponent there. But it is super fun. And again, sticking with our motto here with the Goldang Bros, draw cards, hit hard. That's
Yeah.
what Hisuian Zorak would do.
Stay lucky.
Something that we missed for Vancouver. Sorry, one of the PA players. Some of you may know her from Twitter. Nicole from Team Ball Guy, TBG. She had her
Yep.
first day 2 at Vancouver, 404, I think, playing Snorlax for its last big run. I
Mm-hmm.
think she's crazy for playing it, but she made it, got her first Limitless page with the big lax man himself.
Yep,
Yeah, I got to see her in
absolutely.
person,
That's
and
awesome. As my wife
she was
always says.
super happy.
Oh yeah, my wife always says. She said, hey, yeah, sure, Nicole is a Snorlax player, but we love her anyways. But ultimately, yeah, I was communicating with her during the entire thing, and she did an awesome job. She had a couple of situations that really could kill your weekend, and she did an awesome job of getting her head back straight and keeping driving forward and ultimately getting there. So it was really cool to watch and cool to see. So congratulations.
Yeah, I got to stop in with her a couple times and talk to her about her performance, and we talked to her a bunch of times throughout the all last year, pretty much. And this is a big hurdle for her to get to. She's been working real hard to get it. I mean, I'm hoping this leads to more day 2 finishes and more points, and she can get to that world that she's been hoping for. So back to cards we're gonna lose. Oh, go ahead.
I was just about to say, Sean, what is your card that you think you're going to miss the most?
Radiant Greninja. It played in I don't know how many of my decks that it's. I mean, just being able. Yeah, it's pack time. So just being able to discard an energy and use that for your own I mean, I can't even imagine, like, Chimpao, Goldango, I mean, Raging Bolt. I mean, I can sit and name a bunch of different decks that I played that Greninja was definitely one of the MVPs, even though he wasn't even nice. Nice, Megaton Blower. Even though he wasn't attacking all the time, he was still one of the MVPs. He got me so many different cards. But that's who I'm going to miss the most.
All right, so Sean, when you were going out there and you were out in Vancouver, okay, again, I'm sure they had tons of vendors. So my question is, how much was Prismatic going for?
So there wasn't so much prismatic. So let's see. I was the last one I went to before Puerto Rico was San Antonio, I believe. Yeah, San Antonio had a ton because it just came out and people still had it. There wasn't so much out, but it was still pretty high up there. I believe ETBs are 110. The ones that I saw.
Wild.
It's supply and demand, guys. We're all seeing it when we get out there with the cards. I mean, the only reason I have these boxes is because of working. I'm grateful for it, but like that's the only way we're able to really even get some of the cards right now because you're just not able to find things. Prismatic has been hard to come by. I'm very thankful that we don't need a bunch of prismatic cards. We want a bunch, but they're, I mean, the Badoos and things are ones that we needed right away, and we've been pretty good with that. Let's hopefully not have that problem with Journey Together, which is still yet to be found, but pre-release is this weekend, so be on the lookout.
Yep, and just to push it out there again, we hope that most people aren't doing this, but don't put yourself in a bad situation overpaying for cards that you don't quote unquote need, because again, there's a lot of talk about a reprint of some of these things coming that's going to soften this market. So, be patient, be smart, buy singles.
Yeah, buy singles. I know that's crazy that we're sitting here opening packs, but I'm one of the people that I really don't like to open packs because I'd rather just buy singles. Packs are fun. I get it. They're the whole thing about it, but I would rather just buy singles, and I do agree with Troy on that one. If you're a player looking for certain cards, the pull rates are not very good. Buy singles. Make sure you have the cards. Pull them for fun, if that's the case. You got your pack, Tiger?
Now, for me personally, for the F block rotation leaving, I think Arceus was the most impactful card of the whole F block rotation. There were so many events where it was the best deck in format, and then became the worst deck in format. But that's a good pack.
I guess it is.
Starbirth for 2 to just say, all right, cool. I got what I wanted. I've got what I needed. Hope you can come back with it.
It was definitely a leader in the meta game for a while. I can definitely say that. So many decks ran off the Arceus engine, so
One of my favorite decks played it, the Arceus Armor Rouge deck. Took that to EUIC last year before it got super popularized.
Super popularized. Nice words. I like it.
They a lot of the weird niche decks that I've played I play them before people think they were okay, and then they end up being not quite as good as I expected them to be, but at least known.
Makes sense. Any other cards that? Go ahead, Troy.
I was going to say shout out to Gouging Fire Tiger, which I think finished like 10th in Fort Laza.
That is true. It also got second at Merida. Gouging Fire, good card. It is definitely one of the powerhouses of the old Armor Rouge deck. And there are people that are trying to make Flareon Armor Rouge work. I don't think it's going to be as good because Starbirth, good ability. But Gouging Fire in general is going to be an interesting thing because we lose Delphox, we lose Forest Seal, we lose Magma Basin. I don't think that Gouging Fire as a whole will survive.
Let's see. Yeah, I haven't been a too big proponent of it, but I have seen this man play it quite a bit, and with his own tweaks to it. So I mean, it's just unfortunate that it won't survive, but definitely still to see it getting a finish here in that tournament is great.
So going forward, what are we excited to be losing? So we went over what we're sad to see go. What are we excited to see leave? Troy, you want to start with that?
I know for me, it's probably got to be some of these stall decks. I know we're going to get some different variations of stall decks, but it's one of those that, as much as I don't get to play personally, I tend to like, big decks that swing hard, which
Pack
tend to
time.
get stuck by stall. So, it's kind of been my nemesis. My kids have done a good job of overcoming that because they see it a lot. However, I play once every 3 months or so. So it's
Pokey Dad life right there.
Yep, exactly. I am gonna. I think for next season, I think I'm gonna try to focus a little more on myself. Not at the majors or anything like that, but especially at locals, trying to get myself to where I'm a little more consistent and making some better choices with the way I play.
Speak of the man himself. He's not the good version, but we did end up pulling up gouging fire.
He knew it was coming.
Yeah, he knew it was coming. He was being summoned. Being summoned.
Speaking of some of these decks that were rotating out, Troy, didn't you tell me a story about one of your kids getting upset about block and screaming?
Yeah,
No, I want to
so
hear this song here.
that would be Ella, my now 9-year-old. So we were at a League Cup. So originally, for those of you who don't know, originally in our area, we had some stall players who, were not so, fun sometimes, especially like with newer players. My kids, didn't know how to get around stall, so it kind of became their nemesis real quick. I don't love stall because, again, my opinion of it is that Pokemon is for attacking, so therefore, if stall is not attacking, then that's kind of against it. So my children, lovely as they listen to me and they like to parrot things back. My 9-year-old who was in the middle of a very close game against a good player where she could potentially beat this world's player in a cup. Ended up losing, and he was on stall, and she ended up screaming across the shop, "Stall, not in the spirit of Pokemon!" And I don't know where she got that from,
I wonder. No, I have to agree with that. That's probably. I mean, there aren't many decks that I hate right now. But stall, I don't disagree with it. Coming from Magic, I understand like there's different ways to win games. But I mean, I don't want to say it's not in the spirit of the game, but it does deter a lot of players when they go to play in an event. They line up against a player who's playing Snorlax, which is their right to play that deck. But like Tiger said, they don't know how to get around it, and they just get frustrated. And next thing you know, they just are upset with the game because of one deck when they're kind of keeping their binders that small. When there's other ways to do it. So I mean, if there's one I'm glad to see go, it's because of that. But that's not because it's stall and I don't like to play it. It's because it does deter some new players from playing the game, and it can. As a TO, you can see that when you got a new person coming in, been at league a couple weeks, they play in their first challenge, and they line up against somebody that's from out of town that's came in and is playing stall, and that's what those tournaments are for. Again, I'm not saying don't do that, but that does kind of hurt some of the casual side of the game, I should say. And it's pack time.
Agreed entirely. It's one of those that definitely it has a very important part in the game and the way that it's shaped. And from a gameplay standpoint, it's beautiful. Like from the drawing up of the game and the way that we play it is beautiful. However, again, from a Pokemon standpoint, that's not quite. But the whole point though is that locals, it's tough because especially thinking about it from the kids' standpoint. The kids are either going to grind it out and or they're quitting right there.
Exactly. Oh, I can't see. My light's in the way. Oh, wait. So hold on now. 1 second.
You got it.
No, what I was looking at is I got 2 executors back to back and then got an Alolan executor in the same pack.
I wonder if somebody was putting eggs all in one basket.
Eggs all in one basket.
For for me, I think I would have to
Oh, I forgot.
be excited that Lugia is leaving. Now, one of my ex-students who has now recently raised up to a higher coach, she's a very big fan of Lugia. Um, and I did play it to Puerto Rico. She did convince me that it was a good play. Still not a huge fan of it. It just always has what it wants when it runs, and it ran more often than people gave it credit for.
We'll try
So
this.
having that many attackers, that good of an acceleration, I'm glad. Honestly, I'm glad Archeops is leaving. I don't really care about Lugia. It's Archeops. I'm glad it's leaving. And then probably the majority of Gardevoir. I've never been a huge fan of it. To me, it plays like a control deck. It spends the first 6 turns of the game, letting you burn resources, ionoing you to 1, and then blowing up your board. So, cool. I guess I'm glad I got to play the game. But I do think Gardevoir is in a more fun position for how I would like to play it coming into this next rotation, with it being a more aggressive Gardevoir build with a bunch of monkeys. I've seen Pidgeots. I've seen Clefairies. I've seen Brilliant Blender in Gardevoir because we lost the draw engine that discarded and drew 2. So we have to get those energies in there somehow.
I think a F block for us is F blocks when we came in. So we came in right in Silver Tempest. So this is literally like our baby that we came into that we're watching rotate now, and now we get to watch it go up to the big expanded tournament in the sky. So it's definitely a little hard, just especially like Charlotte. That Lugia was the deck that she fell in love with. It's one of her first ones. She loved playing it until we can't anymore. So now we got to figure out how to play other decks too.
Well, speaking of those other decks, right before we get to pack time, there's a bunch of new stuff out there. New mechanics we were talking about. Anybody want to talk about any of those mechanics that they're excited for?
So honestly, like one of the biggest things in Tiger, I'll kind of lead into this and I'll let you hand off. But what we were thinking about again, you can look at all these decks and stuff like that, but part of what we're losing with this F block is so many of these engines that make these things run, whether it's, Lugia or whatever that is. We're losing so many engines that make these things run. And it seems like at least at the beginning of this next block, it's, a little limited as far as what's happening and how you make it run. So obviously the most obvious one out there, God, I got the ghoul. So the most obvious one is the Noctowl, Hoot Noctowl engine. So, that seems to be in a ton of things, just because it's as prevalent as it seems. So I'm sure that we're going to have more things come along and that are going to. Okay, yeah, I only have 72 of those at the house.
But the big pepper.
Yep. So we're going to see a lot more of these engines come around. But right now heading into Atlanta, it seems like Noctowl is in a lot of stuff right now.
You're seeing it inserted in anything that plays a Terra. If anybody out there doesn't know, when you evolve that Hoot into Noctowl, you get to search your deck for any card as long as you have a Terra Pokemon in play. So you're essentially getting a Force Seal, or 2 trainer cards, I'm sorry. You're essentially getting a Force Seal for 2 trainer cards into your hand every time you evolve that. And I've seen people pair it with Turo, pick it up, evolve another one, get another search. So it's definitely very strong. Tiger, what do you think about it?
Yeah, the Hoot engine, Hoot Noctowl is definitely going to be one of the early game most efficient engines. We saw Tord Redcliffe do top 16 at the Champions League with
11th place.
Terra box, which ran off the Noctowl engine. The Noctowl engine of the Jewel Seeker, like he said, doesn't trigger unless you have a Terra on the board, and that was the whole deck. It ran big basic Terras, Water Pawn, Grass Pawn, Pikachu, and just swung really fast. So Hoot being able to find you 2 cards when it evolves. So just as a basic idea, They have turn 1, they set up, they get Fan Rotom, it gets 2 Hoot Hoots and a Noctowl. Turn 2, they Nest Ball for Water Ogerpon, evolve into Noctowl. Noctowl gets you Crystal plus Crispin. That's 3 energy. That's 2 energies plus a Crystal. Now that you can Water Pawn in one turn, which going on the second turn of the game without Lumineon now, that's a lot of setup destruction because you get to do 100 to an active and 120 to the bench. So you're just overly aggressive with these big basic EXs abusing the Noctowl engine. Other ones that we're seeing right now is the Terapagos Charizard. You go get super wide with your Hoot Hoot Noctowls to activate off of the Terapagos, which is the basic EX Terra Pokemon. One Noctowl can find you Rare Candy Terra Orb, which boom, you have a turn 2 Charizard off of evolving into a single prize Pokemon. Other engines that are good at the moment and will be good is Goldango. It just has a built-in engine of the coin bonus, but you can't really put that into everything. We have Trade from Inzorark, not going to be able to be put into everything. May see it in some Roaring Moon decks, may see it in some Raging Bolt decks, may see it in some Gardevoir decks. And yes, when you hear me say in Raging Bolt, the concept with that one is you discard a whatever color energy, Sada it on, and if you discard darks or no darks at all, you can use the ends PowerPoint up, because I'm not calling it by its real name, and attach extra energies from the discard to the Zoroark, which effectively just becomes extra energies for them to use. So you get 4 extra energies by using the ends PowerPoint up to accelerate energies.
Shout
What
out
else?
to
We have the
also whoever
Dunsparce.
translated that and not putting PowerPoint.
Yeah, the ends comes after Elemento double times. Was a funny person, but so we also have the Dunsparce engine. There is a Dunsparce Charizard deck going around that's playing the Enriching Energy. That's an A spec that doesn't get a lot of play. When you attach it from your hand to a Pokemon, you draw 3. So the concept with that is you use the Dunsparce, shuffle it back in with the Runaway Draw ability, draw 3 cards, and with that it puts the Enriching Energy back into the deck, so you can do it again another turn. So you enriching Runaway Draw, over and over and over, and you get a pseudo draw 3 to 9 per turn because of these interactions. And that's just fueling Charizard's ability to just say, all right, I'm going to make you go through 3 Charizards because I don't have anything on the board that you want to touch.
I agree. One that I think of, Tiger, is the Archaludon. We were talking about this before. It's already out, so it's not like new, but I do think it does take a little more precedence because that Poison Archaludon is something that people have been trying. A built-in engine where you discard your energies by use of other cards and then are able to put them right back on. That's pretty huge. Even losing the Dialga sucks. No more V-Star extra turns. But still being able to load up Archaludon after Archaludon, and maybe even some other steel attackers come into that, it could be a good deck for sure.
Yeah, Archaludon's self-acceleration is an interesting concept because it lost its Greninja, it's lost a couple key pieces there to get the energies in the discard. So now it's running harder on researches and more Ultra Balls and Vessels to get the energies in the discard.
Yeah.
Adding the extra pieces of the Mochi package is good because it does fix your Pikachu problem. Pikachu can one-shot you, but with the Poison package, you get to KO Pikachu. And those who did not read what the Pikachu does, we'll bring it up here again real quick.
There we go.
The Resolute Heart ability, if it goes from full HP to 0, it survives with 10 HP left on it. Now, what the Poison package does is after that damage is triggered, you get to put an extra 10 onto it after all damage effects are done. So you punch for the 240 or 260, I should say, with the Mochi. Then it goes back to 190, so the Pikachu survives with 10. And then in between turns, the poison damage will KO the Pikachu. And a big factor with that is that it does not trigger Pheasantipity because it did not die from your attack. It died in checkup going into your turn.
And that's one package. So my younger daughter has been playing around with our Charladon a good bit here, and of course, we're working with a couple of the new packages and trying out some things. But definitely, the poison package is one that, as you look at it, and again, I don't know that my 9-year-old's ready to throw in the poison package into our Charladon. However, if we get to that point, it's definitely, oh my gosh, it's so useful in those things. As opposed to also Tiger and just again, is Howlucha something? Again, we've got the Pikachu. Do we want to
We were
throw the
just talking
Howlucha
about
in
this.
there and just
Sean,
Yeah,
you
we-
might need to readjust your headset. It's echoing and getting kind of choppy.
Oh no,
that's
not good.
But yes, the Hawlucha. The Hawlucha is a really interesting card for a lot of different decks. I've seen some next format Thornpult decks playing a one of Hawlucha to try and help if they get the turn 2 swinging with Dragapult by going TM Evo turn 1, Evolve turn 2, Crispin swing. Putting the Hawlucha on board puts 10 damage to two different Pokemon on the bench, which allows them to take the extra prize cards. But in the case of the Pikachu, it's putting the 10 damage onto it originally, so the Excited Heart, Resolute Heart ability doesn't trigger. So
Attack
that
time.
is
Is that
another
any
way
better?
to get past it. Yeah.
Okay.
What other ways do we have in the format right now to deal with Pikachu's Resolute Heart? Because Pikachu seems to be a formidable piece for a lot of these big basic decks. I didn't get to do what I wanted this turn. I'm going to push Pikachu and hope you don't have boss. So we have Dusknoir,
what was that?
Roaring Moon. It is a piece. Roaring Moon can do that. For those of you who have not seen what Roaring Moon can do, because it hasn't been in the meta a whole lot recently, Roaring Moon has 2 attacks. Calamity Storm, Dark Colorless hits for 100, discard a stadium hits for 120 more. So that's 220. That does not actually KO Pikachu because of the Resolute Heart ability. But its other attack, Frenzy Gouging, is Dark Colorless. Put 200 damage onto yourself, just KO the opposing Pokemon. That bypasses the Resolute Heart effect because it's an auto KO, not a damage effect. We have, Dusclops and Dusknoir. We have Dragapult has the ability to sprinkle onto it early. So if they started the Pikachu, the 6 damage counters can go. They can put 1 onto the Pikachu, and that will completely nullify the effect unless something of like a picnic basket, a monkey dory, something like that comes into play. We lost Canceling Cologne. Iron Thorns doesn't really make that big of a difference because it doesn't hit hard enough to one-shot it. Now, that is an interesting interaction that Sean had a call happen with at Vancouver about a Flygon into Thorns. And so what is the official ruling on that, Sean?
So with a Flygon, when it attacks, it can get back into the bench, and basically it allows it to swing something else into the active. So what happened with the Thorns is the Thorns is on the bench, the Flygon is the active Pokemon, Pikachu is the opposing opponent's Pokemon. The Flygon attacks the Pikachu and then flips into the Iron Thorns, and since that's all part of the attack, it's still in the attack phase that it switches over. When the Iron Thorns does get in the active, it does do its job and shut off the ability for the Pikachu. So then the Pikachu is not able to have the Resolute Heart ability because the Iron Thorns is in the active and is actively shutting that down. As soon as a Pokemon with ability gets put into the active, that ability is activated. Same thing with keys. If you've been playing long enough, Empoleon, I remember me and Tiger were messing with this for a while. Did the same kind of thing. So it's definitely a strange one. But the fact that it can switch in and then shut off the ability and then allow it to get knocked out is huge. I'm not too well versed in the Flygon's attack. I'm gonna pass this to Tiger because I know it hits twice. I'm gonna mess up the
Residential
word.
card knowledge attack
Yeah,
knower here.
yeah. I'm gonna mess up on the
Flygon, I
attack
don't
he's
remember what the
got.
attack name is called, but it hits for 130 for 1 fighting energy, and switches to the bench. So it's a hit and run for 130. Pikachu's weak to fighting Pokemon, so the 130 turns into a 260, and then that's over the 200 mark. And then, like he said, with the hit and run ability, you could switch into a Klefki, you could switch into an Iron Thorns, you could switch into a Fluttermane because it would turn off the active Pokemon, and that effectively just makes it to where Pikachu doesn't get to do anything after the damage is triggered.
Yeah, it was definitely an interesting call. It took definitely some brain power to figure out there for a minute because honestly, it was just something I haven't seen. My judges didn't see. It was definitely a little difficult, but we got through it, and it was definitely a learning curve for us here. I'm glad we can discuss it with other people too. Oh, another dud.
It's one of those things you almost get into, interactions like that. You're almost getting into like magic with the stack at that point.
Yep.
Just because trying to figure out when the levels of these interactions happen and where that wall is difficult sometimes. And again, like Sean, you've got a lot of experience doing the judging side. Of course, Tiger, you've been around doing it forever, so you guys see that. But we've been doing this for 2 years, so a lot of the stuff we're looking at and going, okay, that kind of makes sense, but tell me why it makes sense.
Right. A big interaction that doesn't look like it should make sense. Earlier, I talked about the crisp and sparkling crystal effect on the Water Ogerpon. Water Ogerpon's torrential pump attack is actually 1 water, 2 colorless, and its effect says you can shuffle 3 energies back into the deck to do an extra 120 snipe attack. So effectively, the attack is really just do 100 to the active for 1 water, double colorless. But the crystal takes over either the water or whatever extra energy you would need, and the effect is still in effect. Yeah, the effect is still in effect. That you can shuffle 2 energies back in because the cost of the attack was made by the crystal. So it really shuffles in only 2 energies, and you got to do the second effect, even though it says shuffle 3. These are some of those weird mechanics that players overlook because they're newer or don't quite understand the interactions. Another big one that people see is like Miraidon EX. Its attack is lightning, colorless, hit for 220. This Pokemon can't attack next turn. But we have a reset mechanic that is a little interesting for how they put it into play. But what that does is status conditions, attacking Pokemon can't attack next turn, things like that get reset when you go to the bench. So you can play switch and then use like a Mew-EX or a Cleffa or some type of free retreater and retreat back into the Miraidon, and it can attack again.
Yeah, resetting the attack is huge. I remember beginning the game, that was one thing I didn't necessarily think about. Like, I can't do this again because this Pokemon can't attack. But it's all in the wording of the attack and being able to actually get the reset. I mean, we've seen it happen with a lot of big basic decks. Nice! Yes! That's the hits we're after right there.
And
Talking about eggs in all in one basket.
Yeah, continues on with the Executor Day.
It is an Executor Day. But yeah, being able to reset your attack is huge. Knowing that, like, all right, I got to figure out a way to get this back in the active and make it able to attack again. We see it with Ursaluna all the time. Stuff like that, where if the game script is where you're down to 1 prize left, and you've attacked with your Ursaluna to take 2 prizes, it's 1-2, and the opponent's like, oh, well, he can't attack next turn. Well, quite literally, if he gets the right amount of cards, he might be able to attack next turn, and then the game's his. So, I mean, those are definitely important aspects that newer players, you're right, may not understand, but you can totally get up to those levels by playing.
And there's cards that ignore that rule too. So like Mew EX with the genome hacking attack, this is went through so many rule checks. So technically, you use the attack genome hacking. And if you would copy, let's say, Blood Moon off of Blood Moon versus Luna, hits for 240, you can't attack again next turn. That doesn't technically affect Mew because Mew doesn't use Blood Moon, it copied Blood Moon. So if they put 4 Blood Moons up in a row, you can use genome hacking, copy Blood Moon, genome hacking, copy Blood Moon without having to switch or reset that Mew because you didn't use the effective attack of Blood Moon for the attack.
Yeah, it doesn't stick to the Mew just because it copied it using genome hacking. It copies it for that instance. Once it rolls over to the next turn, it's gone. It's not like it's remembered. Not memory foam over here. Just kidding.
Troy, with you guys being newer, what are some of the mechanics that were tougher for you to learn and understand for you and the girls?
I mean, honestly, most of it, Pokemon from a basic standpoint is pretty straightforward. So like that, that part of it was not too bad. Now you look into some of the stuff with magic and stuff like that, your brain starts smoking a little bit. But Pokemon, like the general interactions aren't too bad. For us, more, and again, we did not come from a gaming standpoint. We didn't, we had no experience with card games, or a lot of people come from like Pokemon to chess or chess to Pokemon. So like those planning out mechanics, and something that I know we were discussing earlier. A lot of my kids tend to, see, hey, this is the mechanic directly in front of us. This is the attacker we have going, but we're not stepping 2 to 3 steps ahead to plan out what's going to happen. So getting kind of tunnel visioned is something that we struggle with a little bit. And, as I've told my kids too, like every kid or every adult has a weakness.
Weren't we talking about this one, Tiger?
Oh, yeah. Oh, there you go, Tiger. So every person has a weakness. And this is just one of the things that we struggle with personally is trying to figure out that, past the initial step that you're on, what is the step that's the next turn or the turn after that? And that's just something that we've, it's been a thing that's been our struggle for a while, but, we get better at it, but, then all of a sudden Lugia rotates and we try to figure out how to play decks again.
But it's been my famous word.
Planning a couple turns ahead is definitely a hard thing for players to do of all calibers. I know players that have been doing it for years that they still just get stuck in the moment. That's why they play certain types of decks to where like, all right, cool. I can either draw out of it next turn because I have 72 draw cards, or hope you don't Iona me and I get to play the game.
Yeah, I've always been one that's usually, I hate to say I stick to linear decks or stuff like that and then try to branch them off, but it's been, I tell Tiger this all the time, I'm a judge first, then a player. Always have been. That's kind of the way it was for me. I got into the game as a judge and then started playing a lot more competitively to help people learn and stuff like that to help me get better. But yeah, still, even at times I get tunnel vision on, I got to do this. When really, there's a different route I can take. And it's a little bit safer, even though it takes a little longer. But, I mean, even today, so I was playing Tiger, me and him were playing Goldango versus Goldango. And there was a time where I evolved the Gimmighoul using the TM Evo. When in reality, after the game we talked, I probably shouldn't have, because that gave him a 2-prizer to chase after. He ended up chasing after that 2-prizer and knocking out that 2-prizer. So it made it a little bit tougher for me to win. Had I just left it that way, I could have, by all means, drawn into the Goldango. And he would have no reason to attack the Gimmighouls on the bench, because I had 3 of them. But then once I evolved the 1, he has a reason to attack that 1. I opened that reason up. But I had tunnel vision thinking, I need to get a Goldango up. I have no attackers. I need to go. It's Dragadango, Dangopolt, whatever you want to call it. And at the time, I didn't have Dracloak ready, and I didn't have the energies to even get to even a Jet Headbutt. It was not very good at that time. I was being bedewed, so I couldn't play any of my stuff to get the energies back. But again, tunnel vision on that is definitely a struggle for a lot of new players. Still some old players.
And even like nice. One of the things that we're working on tonight. So she, wanted to get out. We were playing Dragon Ball Goldingo. She wanted to get out another Goldingo. She had a Goldingo in the active, had a Gimmighoul on the bench, had a Dreepy on the bench. She wanted to go for the Goldingo. I said, look, ultimately we need multiple pieces to be able to pull. Nice. However, instead, you've got an Ultra Ball. Instead of getting the Goldingo, let's go for the Dracloak. And lo and behold, the second card off the Dracloak was her ace spec, which then rolls the entire deck and allows her to do what she needs to do. So again, we make the right steps to put ourselves in the right positions, and more often than not, it's going to work. Sometimes it doesn't, but.
All right. I just want to show this card. I don't see any point ever in this card being good. Technical Machine Fluorite. It's a tool card for 1 Grass, Water, and Psychic. Discard all energies from this Pokemon and heal all damage from each of your Terra Pokemon. Where and what deck would we see anything like that being worth it? And what deck plays Grass, Water, Psychic to begin with?
What would play Grass, Water, Psychic? So, like, other than, like, Goldango with its rainbowness, but that's not in that at all, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's not a Terra type. I mean, the Ogre box, the Terra box can use all those energies because of Grass from Teal Mask, Water for Water Wellspring. I don't even know the names of the ogres. And Psychic for Clefairy. But I mean, they all have 210 or less HP, so you're not going to be using it in that either. So there are just some weird niche cards that you see some play, and the Terra mechanic seems like it's already going away. So for them to print a card like that for no real necessity seems wasted ink to me.
So that being said, homework for somebody. I need somebody to have a Limitless page with that card.
Yes, if you can eventually, I want somebody to go do something with this card. Like, understandably, maybe you could throw a one-of into like a Rotom V-Star.
I was getting ready to say, yeah.
Lost zoning tools, but like that rotates, so you have no more time to use that one. But in general, it doesn't make any sense. We don't have any combination of cards at this moment, but they don't look to be making Terra Pokemon anymore, since our next mechanic is Trainer Pokemon, and then after that is Mega Pokemon. So for us to have a card that is an H block, so we'll survive the first rotation of our next full set, and do nothing.
We're gonna have to make a post for that. The do nothing card, quite literally.
Like Spiritomb, we have Spiritomb surviving rotation and blocking nothing anymore. The Fettered Misfortune Spiritomb takes away the abilities of basic V Pokemon, but there are no Vs after rotation, and it will be here for a whole nother year.
You got one more pack, right, Tiger?
I have 2 more packs.
I
was talking a little bit while
yes.
Well, so I'll go ahead and crack this one.
So that being said, Tiger, what if the game plan is after Mega Pokemon, we get Mega Terra Pokemon?
If we get Mega Terras, cool. That
Mega
seems
Terras?
like a lot to figure out. Mega Terras seem interesting because that would be combining mechanics. And normally, for those of you who don't know how the cards get decided to be picked, it goes off of the video games. Whatever mechanic coincides with the video game. And with Legends ZA, we're going back to, I think it's Kalos. And the Megas are that region's big mechanic.
Yeah.
And effectively, Megas are kind of like Gigantamaxes, just not as game-changing. There's still 3 prize Pokemon. And in the card game, we had VMAXs, which was the equivalent.
Oh, yeah. I don't
Now,
know. I
for
don't know
those
how I
who
feel
were here
about
for
free
the
prizers coming back in.
yay and nay, I like the tag team format. Those of you who were here for the original megas, it didn't work the same back then. And those who weren't here for that, we had basically megas back then worked like V stars slash V maxes, except for it was an unrefined mechanic for the card game. We had to use a tool card called a Spirit Link to evolve them and not end our turn. You were allowed to evolve them without the Spirit Link, but your turn immediately ended. But they essentially were basic EXs that evolved into Mega EXs, like a V Star would. Now we have the mechanic of it just evolves from a Pokemon, which is not how it works in the video games. That you have to get to the final evolution of whatever X Pokemon is, and then Mega Evolve. So they're trying to make it not 4-stage Pokemon for some Pokemon, but that also means that we will probably be getting some 3-prize basic Pokemon again.
Yeah. Last pack magic, by the way.
Last pack magic.
Let's see.
I mean, we already hit a lot
We
of
did
hits.
hit. No, we hit. I'm really glad about this box.
We just need to see that chew here.
Oh, yeah. So tell me why this was in Lucas's deck, and it took me a minute to understand why, but I think I see the point.
Is that the one that when it evolves it does an extra 90 or whatever, so it hits for 120 for one energy?
We hitting.
Analadios, let's go.
Yeah, it's the one that does an extra 140. And then here's my other question for you guys. Well, I'll show the card off here in a second. Let me get this code displayed. Yeah, so anybody watching, you guys got those chances to claim the code. I hope you already figured that one out. First come, first serve. But yeah, you got Strike It Rich, right? It does an extra 90 damage, so it hits for a solid 120. But how about Surfback? Now, mind you, I know who's going to put 3 energies on this. But if you were to do Surfback and put 3 energies back in and maybe even take a KO from it, you would then effectively put 3 more energies back in your deck, which could be searched out from some things. So, I don't know.
I mean,
interesting, I guess.
But I highly doubt that you're going to do that.
No, I highly doubt it. I'm just saying, like, in a perfect world, like, I guess both attacks could be used. It's not like some cards where
you get the Luminion effect of, all right, cool. I need to use boss this turn, but I don't want to leave a Luminion on the board, so boss up the little guy, Aqua return, and put Luminion back in the deck. Something that Lugia could do. Cough, cough.
Yeah, again, nothing crazy or game breaking. It definitely is in there for the Strike It Rich. I can totally see that. 1 energy hit for 120. That's pretty good. Especially if something got knocked out, your game plan's going bad, you didn't get any EXs up yet. They knocked out a Gimme Ghoul, cool, boom. You got this guy, it works. So, definitely see it.
Lucas's deck, he didn't have anything to deal with Mimikyu. He didn't have anything to deal with Cornerstone. He didn't have anything to deal with any type of, like, just, you're not allowed to hit me cards. So, that Goldango can do that for him.
Mm-hmm. And that's true. That's the part I guess I didn't think about. So, all right. Well, I mean that's all our packs, isn't it? Yeah, that's it. What big hit did you get? So your biggest hit. Let's see your biggest hit.
My biggest hit was the whatever it is rare Executor.
It is. That's a nice card.
SIR Executor.
I mean, Lisia's appeal isn't getting any play that I know
of. Not at the moment, but that does become one of our only Gus cards going after Boss's Order would rotate. We have a little while for that.
Yeah.
But Boss's Order rotates, and that's the only Gus card that we will have printed for probably X amount of time.
I would say that's probably my best
Boss
tool.
has been around for a long time. I mean, are they really going to not have Boss's Orders?
The newest Boss's Orders don't have the newest regulation marks. Pokemon was saying something basically about not wanting generic Gus cards, that you have to have some type of stipulation to do it, whether it's a Pokemon, it's a comeback mechanic card, or Lisha,
Yeah, whatever.
It has to be a basic Pokemon to be able to gust. So those different things make it a little bit more effective. Like, I'm pretty sure Prime Catcher rotates the same time that Boss would.
I believe that. That should be correct.
Mm-hmm. Well,
So, food for thought. I'll take this one from Troy. What do you do when you lose inherently free gusting cards? How do you build around that?
Yeah, that's tough, especially. And again, we don't know what's coming exactly. Like we know what's a little ways down, but if they continue down like the wall outlet and you lose gusting, those walls are going to be awful.
Mm-hmm.
not gonna be fun. So I think that's probably about it for today. I'd say. Some other notes: if you haven't seen World Spectator Passes, the interest list is out. Um, I'm sure people have seen on Twitter. It's pretty pricey for the World's passes this year. $39 for each day if you go by day, or $100 for the whole weekend pass. However, if you're interested, put your name on the interest list. I mean, definitely do, and we'll see what happens. It's not guaranteed there'll be a lottery at this point, but essentially, I guess they're trying to see how many people are interested in it, and then they'll decide whether it's a lottery. We're hopeful this man over here will be there, so he's not gonna put in his lottery ticket. I've already got mine put in because I'm definitely not playing, but I do hope to be there as a judge. So we'll see what happens. All I can do is put
I put in mine because I was confused about the system, and therefore.
Well, Troy's also going to have some kids there. I'm full faithful that he's going to have hopefully 2 competitors there at Worlds. We'll see how the rest of the season shakes out. So other than that, Journey Together is out this weekend, so make sure you guys get out to your local leagues. If you've been jonesing for Pokemon cards and your store hasn't had them, this is one good way to guarantee that you're going to get some new cards. The stores will have pre-release kits that are built all ready to go. You walk in, you don't need to buy any cards. You get a kit. It's gonna have a pre-built deck, extra packs in that thing, and then you'll get extra packs afterwards for playing in the event that you won't get from a kit when you buy it at the store. So I mean that's 40 cards built in, and then 7 more additional packs. You get to modify your deck however you feel fit. I've done some pre-releases and not even used the pre-built. I've literally done it and like handicapped myself to just use my packs and the trainers from the pre-built, but not the actual Pokemon. It didn't do so hot, but it was fun. All right, so one thing I love about pre-releases is to have fun with it. So if you've been missing that fun aspect we were talking about at the beginning of the episode, go do a pre-release, go do a sealed event, go have some fun.
And just to throw that out there, for those of you guys who don't know how the pre-release events work at the shops, the actual stock that you get is based on how many people are playing in the pre-release now. So they changed that up for this set, and it's going forward. So the more people that play in the pre-release, the more product they will get in the future for the next ones. So if you want to see your store grow, you want to see more people be able to play, get out there and play in it. A lot of the stores right now have minimal stock for this pre-release just because of that aspect. So get out there, fill those spots, make sure that you're competing in those pre-releases. That way you can help your store and help yourself in the future.
All right.
All right,
Well,
guys, that's going to be wrapping it up for us.
yeah. So Troy, you're here today, so why don't you go ahead and do the sign off.
Yeah, absolutely. So, guys, thank you all for coming. We appreciate everybody who's watching. Love talking with you guys. Get out there, shoot us a message on Twitter. Have some fun. And, guys, thank you so much for everything you do. It's more than just a game.
All right. We'll see
stay
y'all.
lucky, guys.
Stay lucky.